Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance Channel's Romance Roundup, the #1 romance book recs talk show. I am Liz Donatelli.
And I'm Libby K, author of the sweet romance series Buckeye Falls.
Before Libby and I go on a holiday hiatus, we are sharing our favorite romance books of 2024 and sharing more romances we're excited to read in 2025. Watch Romance Roundup on Reader Seeks Romance Channel and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on PodBean and all podcast apps. Viewers and listeners can email us at readerseeksromance@yahoo.com and follow us on Instagram at LibbyKAuthor and at Reader Seeks Romance. I cannot believe that 2024 is almost at its end.
I know, right? What a year it's been, Liz. What a year it's been.
It has been a year that personally and professionally has been tumultuous. So I'm really hoping.
But I think for both of us, because we both started new jobs this year.
That is right. That is right. We've both had to adapt to major life changes. I'm thinking 2025, a bit more stability, hopefully. And,
God willing.
Yeah. And for me, I'm hoping more time to read.
Yes, ditto. Ditto. I think my reading goal for 2025 is to continue to DNF books I don't enjoy because life is too short and there's too many books out there.
Yeah, I agree. I've actually become more comfortable with doing that this year, but I feel like I want to get to be an expert at it next year, where I'll be able to be like, okay, just DNF it, Liz, just DNF it. Did you notice more DNFs this year, 2024?
It's probably maybe only one or two more than last year. I think for me, I've just been more mindful of it. It would be, in library school, we always would talk about like, well, how long till you don't finish a book? And I always felt like 50 pages was kind of the barometer.
Yeah.
And I've noticed with two of the books, which to be fair, were not mentioned on the show. I'm not, throwing shade at anybody. Two of the books within the first two chapters, not even the first 30 pages, I was like, you know what? Life's too short. One of them I just flat out returned to the library, and the other one I did just put it back on my shelf, and I like look at it every once in a while like, do I want to give you another try?
Right. We really need to do an episode in 2025, or at least a brief segment about that very thing, the different types of books that we struggle with finishing or that we have in our bookshelf that we don't want to read. Just books that
Yes.
like you just like knowing are there, but you aren't motivated to really read yet. And then the books that you don't finish and the books you want to give a second chance to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this, obviously off air at book club last week, but someone made the comment about having trouble reading something that's getting too much hype and publicity, where it almost makes it like reading it almost seems like a Herculean feat because it's just like you're assuming you're also going to be another 5-star fan of the book. So that's something I've been thinking about since last week. And I'm like, there's a couple books that I mentioned on the show that I was excited to read that I haven't read yet, and I know I will. But I'm hoping in 2025, when the buzz dies down and I'm distracted by something else being new and shiny, I'll give those a whirl.
I would love to talk to book marketers about how sometimes the hype does not entice us to read the book. Certain readers are not enticed by the hype.
Yes.
And, there's a certain mindset about that and a philosophy. And then in some cases, the hype does help. So
exactly. It's a crapshoot. You never know.
When does the hype hurt a book?
Ooh, I feel like, ooh, quick, write that down.
I am. Don't know what I'll do with it, but I'm going to write it down.
2025, that's a problem for next year.
All right, let's dig right in. Libby, let the roundup begin.
Giddy up, Liz, here we go. Okay, so this is in no way a surprise because I've already talked about this book at least once, maybe twice, but it's worth mentioning again, damn it. My hands down favorite book of the year, romance or otherwise, was Emily Henry's Funny Story. I'll pause so you can faint and, be totally shocked that this is news.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I figured that Emily would appear, even though you do suffer from Emily Henry syndrome.
Yes, where I simultaneously love her as a reader and hate her as a writer, because if I could do half of what she does, damn it. Oh,
Yeah.
just guts me. But no, that book, I definitely, the more I think about it, when you like read a book and you're like, oh, I loved it. And then, a couple months later, you're like, I don't remember what I thought compared to their other books. The more I think about this book, I definitely think it's my favorite of hers. We all know I haven't read Book Lovers because it's cursed.
Yes, because every time you've tried to read Book Lovers, someone you love ends up ill.
In the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even ill, it's hospitalized. So
I
I
was
am
trying to
doing
be
this.
kind, but just saying ill
Yeah.
because hospitalized people might be like, Emily Henry does voodoo.
No, I'm just superstitious apparently. So yeah, no, in an effort to save my parents and husband from further issues, I will just never touch that book again, which pains me because I've heard it's really good, but that's okay. I'm just pretending it doesn't exist and I'm just gonna love Funny Story and sing its praises. It occurred to me when I was working on my notes for this episode that part of the fun that I don't think I mentioned before is the fact that they're not forced to be roommates, but they're roommates because, they both got dumped. And Daphne, the female lead, didn't have anywhere to go. So it has that nice forced proximity. And I guess if you think about it, she was kind of homeless and had no other choice. So that kind of goes with my unofficial favorite trope of, homelessness,
Didn't we come
which
across somewhere where it said something about like landlord and tenant? I
yes,
think, yeah.
landlord tenants and other things. So I don't know if I would necessarily call this that just because she stayed at his place and it wasn't that she was, paying him rent or something or they had, some weird dynamic with that. But the reason this is my top pick of the year is obviously the writing's amazing, the character development. The thing I liked about it, well, I liked a lot about it, but one of the things I really liked is she perfectly balanced them working on their personal lives, their professional lives, and their love lives seamlessly. It wasn't something, because sometimes you read a book and they're talking about their work, and you're like, if I have to hear about one more spreadsheet issue or one meeting with a crappy boss, it's like, that's real life. I don't want to think about that. But the way she talks about both of their professional lives and their ambitions and their friend groups and their family relationships, it was so perfectly balanced. And again, it really pisses me off how well written it was. So,
Right.
and I know you haven't read this yet, and I know there's other people who are holding off on reading it because of all the hype. And I think it just made it through to the next round of Goodreads books of the year for romance. If it hasn't already won, it made it through the next round at least. So, we'll have to see. I mean, I'll be shocked if it doesn't win because I think she's won almost every year that she's been in it. So
Okay.
again, must be nice, but I'm not going to falter that because she's a damn good writer. So I'm going to just shut up about it because I don't want to ruin anything or spoil anything because it's just such a good book. So if you were looking for a very well-rounded contemporary romance, Libby K, 2 thumbs up for Emily Henry's Funny Story. And then report back if you read it because I want to know what other people think.
I have yet to read Emily Henry. I do own Book Lovers. Now I'm afraid that the curse is going to pass from you to me, and the minute I read it, someone ends up in the hospital.
Or I'm gonna call you and be like, something bad happened. Liz, did you pick up Book Lovers?
Right. Like this. Ashley Poston should write magical realism about people reading Emily Henry's Book Lovers and something bad happening and it leading you to find romance. Like, I feel like we could go deep with this. Because of the hype of Emily Henry, not just from you, because you're a
Mhm.
trusted source, but also there's so much other hype about how great it is. I feel too much pressure to like it or to like convince myself I'm liking it because everyone else is liking it.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm
Mhm.
not going into it with the clean slate. And
No, that makes perfect sense.
so I almost want to wait until the next book comes out of hers and like read it quickly before I hear anything about it so I'm not tainted. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, I know that 2 of her books are being adapted right now into a movie for one and a series for another. So you could read ahead of that because I'm going to want to talk about that show and movie when they come out. So, I mean, if really, this is just a public service you're doing for the show, Liz.
I don't like the public that much. I don't think I need to do that. All right, here are some of my faves, okay,
Okay.
of the year. And these have been previously mentioned on the show. Because I am going to briefly mention my faves, I am going to include the episode numbers for listeners and viewers to learn more about these titles. So, I have The Romance Library by Olivia Spring, which I mentioned in episode 38. I read and adored this Rivals to Lovers romance that includes small town quaintness and forced proximity. And the romance library also gets top marks from me, not only because of the love story and the humor and the heart, but there is a memorable rocking chair sex scene in front of a window that I'm going to say might be among one of the most unique sexual positions written about in a romance book in at least 2024.
I thought you were going to say in at least 20 years. No. I have the audiobook on hold and I keep delaying it because I'm going through my seasonal books, but that is top of the
Yeah.
2025 list as well.
I previously recommended Olivia Spring's The Match Faker, which appeared in our Fake Relationships episode 20. So I think what we're learning here, Libby, is that Olivia Spring is becoming one of my fave romance authors. I'm going to say she is one of my fave romance authors. I'm going to take this the next step because 2 in a row from me is a big deal.
Yes, and I would say if I think of an author and I think of you first, that is a Liz author.
Oh, that's a wonderful metric. And
Mhm.
you know me so well, Libby. This is a testament to our creative partnership and friendship. Another fave, male historical romance, Our Own Light by Logan Sage Adams, which I talk about in episode 36. And Libby introduced me to Logan Sage Adams' work because she saw this very enticing TikTok that touted it as this coal miner romance. And as everyone knows, the official mascot of Romance Roundup is little Jimmy, the coal miner. I absolutely adored Our Own Light, which is set in the early 1900s in a West Virginia mining town. And it is a opposites attract
Definitely a
romance.
slow burn.
Oh, it's a delicious slow burn. And I just want to squeeze in before we continue my my fave romance series of 2024, AJ Truman's Single Dads Club, which is a
Hmm.
small town romance series featuring single dads. They're all friends and they're all gay. And there's a lot of laughs and there's a lot of heat. And I it's the standout series of this year. And now I'm going to throw it to Libby.
And now I'm going to wrap up the show because you covered half of mine. No, I'm kidding. This is exactly what I knew would happen, and I love it. When I was thinking, when I was laying on my couch last night trying to come up with the perfect notes for a perfect end of the year episode, I thought of AJ Truman. I'm mad at myself because I wanted to read Marshmallow Mountain before this episode, and I just flat out ran out of time. Like life took over.
I am about a quarter into it right now.
Ooh, okay. I'm dying now.
Okay,
So
and I also had hoped to finish it before recording this episode.
yes.
I just want to say as of right now, it's 2 thumbs up.
Perfect. Well, and I have it this weekend we have no plans, which is so rare. So my plan is to literally I have 3 books. They're holiday and or wintry themed. And my husband has a new video game. He wants to do that. We're both gonna just do what we call bonding without talking. And we're gonna sit in the same room and do our own things. And I love it and he loves it and it's perfect. So
Bonding
that
without
is
talking. I love
yeah.
how you've
Yeah. Just like,
described it.
it's cozy. We're here every once in a while. We'll like talk to each other or like share a snack or something. But like, I don't know. It's like we're there, we're hanging out. If we need something, it's there. But yeah. So, but that's our plans for the weekend. So Marshmallow Mountain is on the top of my TBR list for that because I think it's supposed to be pretty cold and miserable here in Ohio. So perfect time to read a book about being snowed in. So, but no, AJ Truman, I feel like and I know he is not a breakout author for 2024, but I feel like for us, this was his breakout year because we both stumbled on The Falcon and the Foe at the same time. Was that in the spring or the summer? I think it was like late spring, early summer.
I would say that's
Um,
accurate. Yeah.
that was probably one of my favorite author finds of the year. And then subsequently, I found out about M.A. Wardell because of Marshmallow Mountain. And so I did read Mistletoe and Michigas last month, I think, and really enjoyed it. I already have one of his other books on hold at the library, and I am just going to go through his catalog now because I've pretty much gone through all of AJ's. So that was definitely two of my or that was definitely my favorite new discovery of the year. And then obviously, just to piggyback on what you said about Our Own Light with Logan Sage Adams, that was my favorite thing that happened when I was taking a break from work, was finding that book cover and literally squealing at my desk. I'm like, it's a 1920s coal miner romance. Holy shit, where's Liz? So yeah, and that one, as I know we've gone on ad nauseum about, but the writing was beautiful. The story, even though it was a slow burn, the payoff was amazing. And I don't want to give anything away with the ending, but I loved just how she wrote the whole story. It never felt like there was this, it's romance, so it's going to have a happy ending. But I never realized that the ending would be as satisfying as it was. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to ruin it for anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. This is a great segue because you just finished talking about Our Own Light by
Yes.
Logan Sage Adams. And I would like to add to my favorites Logan's most recent male historical romance, Out of the Storm.
Oh, I'm
Now,
so jealous you already finished it.
you know what? I tore through it. I could not put it down. And that is rare for me, to not be able to put something down. Which sounds like I'm talking about just anything in my life. First of all, at this point, Logan Sage Adams, like she has set the bar so high. Like 2020, like both of her books make my favorites list this year. Not to put any pressure on Logan, because I'm sure she's going to be watching this and then be like, oh no, how do I top myself in 2025? I wouldn't say this if I didn't think she was fully capable of just completely hitting it out of the ballpark from now until eternity. So,
I'm not worried.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all. So Out of the Storm is a gay male small town historical romance set in Niles, Ohio in 1985. Now, there's a very specific reason for the location, Niles, Ohio, and the date, 1985, which I will not reveal. Every choice that Logan makes on the page is intentional and well-researched and thoughtful, and I love that.
Yes, definitely. 100%.
And we discussed Out of the Storm with Logan briefly during our most recent Zoom call-in episode. What I love, in the Amazon book description, it says, Out of the Storm is a heartfelt male romance with a torrent of humor, a flurry of heartache, and a sprinkling of spice. So keeping in that theme of like weather.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great description.
I just love that. I had to share that. Okay, so here's the gist. Jeff Russo is a reserved, bit of a loner mall custodian. And let's face it, mall custodian to me is like a very 80s job because malls, that was their heyday. And even in the 90s,
God, I miss a good 80s and 90s mall.
Oh my God. Jeff Russo is a mall custodian and a hobbyist storm chaser who is also healing from trauma experienced in his last relationship. Gary Graham is an adjunct college math professor and a radio personality who runs the town's only radio station from his home. And his world is turned upside down by a family secret that is suddenly revealed. When Jeff and Gary connect, the clouds part and the heavens open. I came up with that.
I was just going to say, is that from the book or is that yours? Because that's gold.
I came up with that. And then I'm like, I don't know if that sounds as good as I thought it did.
No, it sounds brilliant. No notes on this end.
Okay. Oh, you flatter me so, Libby. Do you know, it's one of those visceral reads where you are touched so deeply in your heart of hearts. It's almost difficult to put into words how the book is so wonderful and how it affected you. So Out of the Storm is tender, beautiful, spicy, sweet, relatively low angst, and just I don't want to go in. There is a trigger warning pertaining to the content because there is mention of a sexual assault. It's done very thoughtfully and carefully and in a way that sounds authentic to how you would imagine someone would go about trying to heal from that and to move on and to have a successful relationship. I highly recommend Out of the Storm by Logan Sage Adams. If you're building your TBR list, you have to include one, if not both, of Logan's male historical romances.
Hear, hear. No arguments on this side.
What have you next for us, Libby?
Well, speaking of trigger warnings, Liz, I off camera, I have bored you to tears about my love of this series. And I just finished the second book in the series last week, and someone other than my long-suffering husband needs to hear about this. So my surprise of the year was definitely Brynne Weaver's Ruinous Love trilogy. Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark are out right now. Life is all about balance, and so I would say about 80% of what I read is romance, but I also have a true crime side that I love, and I will do podcasts and shows and books. That is kind of like how I balance out, I guess, my mental health. I don't know if my therapist would agree that that's healthy, but it makes me feel better. So there we are. I would consider this the darkest of dark romances that I have read. I am not exaggerating when I tell you that there are pages, plural, of trigger warnings and content warnings. And I listened to Butcher and Blackbird in the car by myself, and I was actually laughing at how long the trigger warnings were going as I was driving. I'm like, I'm going to make it to Pennsylvania before we're even done with the trigger. So, but it did not in any way deter me. I was, if nothing else, more intrigued. I know I've alluded to this before on the show, but I will say these are probably the most obviously gruesome, but take that out of it. They're so romantic. There are scenes that still live rent-free in my mind from the first book from the summer. And having just finished Leather and Lark, oh my God, like I'm so angry that the third book's not out for 2 more months because I need it in my life. I need to know how it ends, but I'm also simultaneously going to be devastated to not have these 3 damaged, gorgeous Irish brothers in my life. So I will have to find some other way to get that fixed. But the writing is incredible. You will, in one chapter, you will gag at something disgusting. You will snort with laughter at something hilarious. And then you'll literally swoon yourself to death because the way that she writes these characters, they're slow burns, but oh my God. It's again, we're bordering on Emily Henry territory with how pissed I am reading these books. So if you're listening and you're looking for, some seriously dark stuff to go with your seriously romantic book, I cannot say enough good things about the Ruinous Love trilogy by Brynne Weaver. If you can get through the content and trigger warnings, I think you will enjoy it. And if not, then there is a book for every reader, and not every book is for every reader. So please do not feel pressured. But Liz, I think you'd like it.
We've talked about this a lot off camera, most recently at our in-person romance book club meeting. And I feel like this is in my wheelhouse. I love horror movies, so I'm sure that whatever content appears in these books is manageable for me. It's almost like book triage right now. Like, what on my list needs my attention first? So
Yes.
because I've got other things that technically are higher up, I think I'm going to just spend time reading the first 50 pages just to see, hey, can I not put this down? Then I'm going to continue it. And if I can put it down, I'll put it down and go back to it and read it in 2025. But that's my goal by the end of 2024 is to read Butcher and Blackbird, at least to like sample it in 2024 to see if I want to just continue. I'll just finish it in a weekend.
And this is definitely, you have to read these in order. This is not like a Tessa Bailey trilogy where if you read them out of order, it doesn't make a difference. You have to read them in order because it adds to the gut-wrenching scenes in the second book.
Okay.
And oh, I'm just going to shut up because there's no, if I keep talking, I'm going to ruin it. So I'm just going to say it's amazing and I'm giddy and rah.
Okay. All right. Let's move into our TBR list. Before I mention the book I am excited to read in 2025, and we did do a whole episode already over the summer in August.
Yes.
I didn't write down the episode number, but it is all 2025 romances we're looking forward to reading. So now we're older and wiser, and there's a few more on our list. So I have one from 2025 I want to mention, but there's something else I would like to mention on my TBR for 2024, because as the year winds down, I am genuinely, and not because you're you, I am genuinely looking forward to reading Libby Kay's A Buckeye Falls Christmas. It's a novella, and I need to read the book description for A Buckeye Falls Christmas, because it is brief. And you wrote it, right?
Yes.
And I want to show everyone how you write a brief book description.
Oh, thank you. I will not lie. I thought of you while I was working on it.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
because it's different. Well, I'll let you read it and then I'll talk about it.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about this. This should be a whole episode just talking about how you write your brief.
Let's just talk about me now.
We're gonna have just the Libby episode. That's not a bad idea. So, a Buckeye Falls Christmas. Back of the book description. On the first day of Christmas, Buckeye Falls gave to me a snowstorm, uninvited dinner guests, a Christmas pageant, and a friends reunion dinner to warm your heart. It's been 10 years since 5 couples found love in this charming small Ohio town. Families and careers have grown, but the love remains the same. Max is hosting Christmas at the diner, a final send-off before the beloved hangout gets a facelift. But the risk of a snowstorm and a few uninvited guests threaten everyone's plans. Will it be a Christmas to remember, or, or will their holiday get plowed away? Now, this is the first time I'm actually reading it aloud. And when I read about getting plowed,
I know.
I was thinking of something much sexier than I should have.
No, it'll still sweet, and my mother can read it and not
Yes.
die of embarrassment.
It is. Revisit your favorite couples in this holiday novella, which includes favorite recipes from this series. Warning, this story will make you hungry and may cause uncontrollable swoons. Now that's great.
Thank you. And thank you for the shameless plug. I was going to ask for that later, but thank you for including it without me even having to ask.
I suspected you might have, and I decided to mention it. So I do hope Cheesy Bites
Yes, they are on there.
are in there.
The cheese enchiladas are also on there. I didn't bother putting on a grilled cheese sandwich because I figured that would be insulting everyone's intelligence.
Not necessarily, because it would be like with
Well,
a
that's
Buckeye's
true.
twist, right? A Buckeye
That's
twist.
true.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
maybe I'll do that later and like throw it up somewhere. Or that sounded gross. Throw it up somewhere.
You throw up the recipe somewhere.
Oh my.
Now, do you have more than one TBR for 2025?
I was just gonna lightning round it. And these are in no particular order of date or interest level. The first one that I'm super excited about is Dream Girl Drama by Tessa Bailey. It's the third in that trilogy that included the Au Pair Affair and
Girl Down.
Thank you. I almost said Hook, Line, and Sinker, and that is the wrong series. I am excited about that for a lot of reasons, least of which is I feel like this trilogy for me is why I fell in love with Tessa Bailey's writing a million years ago. And by a million years ago, I mean like 5 years ago. It just feels like a million, I guess.
Mhm.
It's brain candy. It's silly. It's sexy. Sometimes I'm reading it and I'm like, what's going on here? But I can't put it down. Like the shenanigans are just fantastic. So very, very excited for that one. Another one that I'm super excited about, and again, not a stranger to anybody who's listened to the show, Sarah Adams has a new one coming out in her When in Rome series, and that's Beg, Borrow, or Steal. That's coming out, I believe, in January. And then another author that you probably all are sick of me talking about, who is Cara Bastone, and her Promise Me Sunshine comes out in the winter as well. So those are kind of the ones that are at the beginning of the year that I'm excited about. And Rachel Lynn Solomon's What Happens in Amsterdam comes out early spring. And that kind of rounds out my early 2025 TBR that I'm really excited about. And I'm one of those people that if I can't sleep, I just like to scroll through all my TBR lists and like rank when I'm going to read things. And those are consistently at the top. So I'm like, that's why I'm going to mention those on the show.
So actually, you didn't mention one that I discovered coming out in June 2025 by Berkeley, an author we've mentioned many times before and have questioned how to pronounce the last name, Ashley Poston.
I almost had that on, Liz. I swear to you, I almost had that on.
I believe you. So it sounds like love. And just briefly, and of course, there's magical realism, which is Ashley Poston's bag.
Oh, yeah.
Ashley Poston's bag. I sound like I'm one of the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Hey, is that your bag, baby?
Ring a ding ding.
This is my bag. Like
Sing it, Dino.
Right, like this is what I'm in, because I realize I don't know how old the people are listening and watching. It's like, like this is in my wheelhouse. This is something I like. Okay, here's the back of the book description. A hit-making songwriter and a bitter musician share a startling and inexplicable connection that they'll do anything to shake in the next sparkling, magical book from Ashley Poston.
Doesn't that just sound so charming?
It does. And if you read the description, it further compels you. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a little lengthy, isn't it? It's
Is 2025 the year that we're going to have shorter book descriptions or longer book descriptions?
I hope it's shorter because, life is short. Don't spend it reading 6-page book descriptions. It is a little lengthy, so I'm not going to mention it, but I always love the colors used in Ashley Poston's book covers. And this has the typical pink, kind of like a sky blue or like that.
They're not quite pastel, they're not quite neon, but they're very bright and eye-catching.
Yes, and yellows, yellows, pinks, and blues. So so I'm excited, and that's all right. That's the show.
Yeah, so we're excited. Good night, everybody.
And that's our roundup. Watch Romance Roundup on Reader Seeks Romance channel and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on PodBean and all podcast apps. Thanks for joining us, romance readers.
Happy reading, everyone.